Hello, everyone. I am so happy to be here. I'm actually in North Myrtle Beach this week. I used to live here, so I'm back for a visit. I'd like to see who's on and say hello to everyone. We have Kim Smith. Hi, Kim. Thank you for joining us. And I also see Ruth. Hi, Ruth. Thank you for being here. I am extremely excited for my guest this week. He has been a musician, professional musician for 30 years. He's played many different instruments. He is a certified sound healer, which is why I'm excited for him to be here to share his knowledge with us. And I am eager to learn what he has to offer. So I'd like to introduce to you now Angelo Rizzo. Hi, Angelo.
Hello there. Hi,
Good to
everybody.
have you. Good to have you. I am so excited. We met 2 years ago at Karma Fest, and you were next to me. You were the booth next to me, and I was listening to you talk to the people that were coming up, and I thought, wow, this guy really knows his stuff. You have so much knowledge and so much to offer that I couldn't wait to get you on the show. So share a little bit about your journey in music, the producing, all the things that you did, and then we can get into some of the frequencies and things that you know.
I'd love to. Love to share my journey. It's been a very, very interesting journey. I used to work in the full time in the medical field. I worked in radiation therapy, treating cancer patients, and I did that for decades. And before that, when I was younger, I was a professional musician when I was very young. Played professionally in Pennsylvania and a lot of places in northeastern Pennsylvania. Traveled around, did that, loved it. And when I got into the medical field, I thought, well, I guess I really did what I wanted to. It was a dream of mine to be a professional musician, and I put it down. I stopped playing music and I went into the medical field. Well, I didn't realize that the universe was going to be calling me back to do it again. And I didn't realize that I would be called back to do it in a little different way. And and I started a company called SoundSpark Productions with a business partner of mine who he lives in California right now, but he was in New Jersey when we started the company. It
Mm-hmm.
was a music production company called SoundSpark, and we were producing meditation CDs. And we were producing music, writing our own music, and I do have CDs out that are mine and other people's also. And we started that way with SoundSpark. And then what happened was um, I kept getting moved in the direction of sound therapy. And what happened was with he did move to California. He met his wife. He moved to Los Angeles, and there is no coincidence in life that we would be going to this school in San Francisco, California, called the Globe Institute. And in 2014, we did go. We went through their intensive program in sound therapy, and so I was guided to do this, and it's very interesting. In 2009, I got laid off in the medical field. I got laid off from my job.
Wow.
And the universe was saying to me, the doors are open for you to be doing this sound therapy. And the more I start doing sound therapy, it started to grow and grow and grow up until today, which is um, I have a business called the sister company to SoundSpark Productions is called Healing Sound Experience. That's a sister company, which is the sound therapy part of the business. So I'm really privileged and honored to have met a lot of the people in California who are the big guys, the big people in sound therapy, and they have guided me along, and I'm so grateful for that. I do
Yeah,
shows.
I
Go
was going to
ahead.
say it's amazing how the universe does that for us. Like the one door closed, and then you were open up to do these things, and then the people present opportunities, present, and it's always in the divine timing that it happens. And when we allowed things to just flow instead of looking at like, oh no, I lost my job, you moved right along just like you should have. So that's wonderful. So continue.
Yes, I was at first it was a little hard because I didn't know there was no when I first got laid off, I didn't know there was no healing sound experience. There was no business. And I didn't know, I didn't know what was going to be happening with me. And but I had faith. I had faith that there was something coming, because I used to say there is something else I should be doing, and I didn't know what it was. And I kept putting that out to the universe. There's something I should be doing, but I don't know what it is. And I would even ask, I was going to a meditation group on Tuesday nights, and I would ask the woman every Tuesday, great, wonderful story. After the group, I would meet with her. She became a good friend of mine and a mentor. And I would ask her, Michelle, I'm supposed to be doing something. I don't know what it is. And she'd say to me, she'd sit down with me, just her and I, and go, you know what you're supposed to be doing. And I'd go home and I'd say to myself, I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I really don't know. But I'm putting it out to the universe and waiting for the answer to come. And you know what? It did come. It did come. When my business partners did show up, it was even way before Healing Sound. It was when SoundSpark got formed. We started doing the music stuff again. I started pulling everything out and then start doing music again. Actually, I did start doing music a little before that even. And we started the music production company. Now today, go ahead.
I was going to say, and you play many instruments.
Yeah, I do. I do play a number of instruments. When I was a kid, very young, I didn't want to play an instrument. I was about 13 or 14 when I decided I wanted to play guitar. And so I said to my mother, I'd like to play guitar. And she said, oh, she didn't have much money. My parents were divorced and she didn't have much money, but she went out and bought me a guitar. And I started to learn to play guitar on my own. I never took a lesson. I picked up the guitar and started learning it by myself. But you come to a point where you can't teach yourself everything when you play instruments. So I started taking lessons, and that really took off for me. I never forget, some of my family would say, what is he going to do? He's probably going to put it down he's never really going to do this anywhere but at our house. And then 8 years later, I was playing out, making money. 8 or 9 years later, I was playing music out. Wow. And that's how I know that I was really doing what I was really supposed to be doing. I really knew that.
Yeah, it fit. So, you were intended. It's the path, and here you are today. And I consider you an expert on the frequencies and the sound. It's just amazing listening to you talk about it.
I really, when I first went to the Globe Institute, we walked in the doors. I'll never forget it. It was June of 2014. And I walked in the doors and I was literally vibrating. That's how excited I was to be there. It's like when you're supposed to be somewhere. And I knew I should be there. And I was so grateful to be able to learn from guys like David Gibson, who owns the Globe Institute, is the owner. A guy like Randy Masters, who's a good friend of mine now, and Sylvina, who's a teacher there. And I've learned off them a lot of stuff over the years. And on my own, I've studied, but I've learned a lot from them. And it's just when you're supposed to be somewhere, when you're in the right place, it's amazing how the universe comes to your aid and it helps you along. It's just, I'm really doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I know it.
Yeah. And, there's so many people that I work with that come to me and they have these blocks, and you really, truly have to trust, believe, and open yourself completely to receive in order for it to come. So you were doing that, and that's why it came. It's easy to say, oh yeah, I want to, show me what I need to do. But then you're still trying to do something else. You're blocking it out of the way. You have to really just completely humble yourself and almost come to your knees, so to speak, to receive what is intended for you. And it sounds like that path was carved out for you at an early age with the music.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I I always had this thing about knowing that um, I want to say knowing and maybe even trusting uh, where I could go or where I should go. Even when we started doing music production, we were producing CDs. Now, I never produced a CD in my whole life. I never did it. My business partner had more experience and more knowledge about it. And he said to me one day, he said, "Do you think we can do this professionally? We can really produce a CD that sounds as good as you get off a shelf?" And I said, "Of course we can do this." I don't know where that came from. I shouldn't say I don't know, because I do know. But I have always had that, even with sound therapy. I went to the Globe Institute saying, I know I could do this. I know I could work with people. I can know the information. I could intuitively work with people on a level to help them heal with sound and music.
Mm-hmm. And your background in the medical also comes into play with being able to work with people and that compassion and that understanding, because sound healing, you're a lot of times you're working on physical, mostly physical things for people. And you said one thing that really hit home with me is trust. We have to trust. It's, you know, we our faith is blind. We should live by faith and not by sight. And that's where that trust comes in, knowing that you are going to receive what you need when you need it. And that's exactly how you lived your life, and look what happened. That's
Yeah.
wonderful story. Yeah, yeah. So where are you now with your business and the sound healing? Do you have a office? Tell me how it all works.
It is, it started off very, very small, and in that I came back after going to the Globe and graduating, and I came back and I had some relatives say to me, "Hey, what are you going to do with this sound thing?" Or they used to say music thing, because they had no idea what sound therapy was. They didn't know.
Yeah.
They used to say, "What are you going to do with this music thing?" I don't know. What are you going to do with that? And I said, I don't know. I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to work, but I believe something is going to work with this. I always had that idea. And so I started out doing shows where if you look, my business card the best way to explain it is it breaks it up into three areas. It breaks it up into the music, or the music production. We still do music production. We still produce CDs, not on the level that we were when we started, but we still do that. I have people now asking me to produce CDs again. It's the sound therapy stuff, which is the private sessions with people. It's also the shows where I do expos and I sell the products. I do sell where, like I met you at the show in Maryland. So it's all areas. I even do classes now in New Jersey, and New Jersey every month I do a class, and I do them in other areas, other states and near New Jersey also. But I do have an office in a place called The Starting Point in Westmont, New Jersey. It's right near Cherry Hill.
Oh yeah, I know where
Yeah, I have an office that I do private sessions with people. I have my sound equipment there. I have a sound table there. If people don't know what a sound table is, a sound table looks like a massage table, but what I did, I built my two sound tables only because I didn't have $2,000 when I first started to buy a sound table. And I said to myself, I saw them in California. I really want one. Mark, my friend, his name is Mark, my business partner. I said, Mark, I really want a sound table. I want to bring it to the shows, bring it to, around for people to try it. And I didn't have one. And so my business partner is very good with electronics also. There's no mistakes in the universe.
Yeah.
And he said to me, if I find out what we need to build it, can you build the tables? And I said, yeah. Again, I had never done it before, but I went out and I said, okay, I'm going to try to do that. And I did, and not try, I did. But
Yeah.
I built a sound table where my clients can use the table for centering, for grounding, for giving you energy, for opening up emotional blockages. The sound tables are very powerful. People are using them for PTSD. And so we use the sound table. It's we have you put headphones on, and we have you lie on the table. Underneath the table, there's two transducers bolted to the table, and the low frequencies go to the table, and you actually feel the music while you're listening to it. So it's a really powerful sound therapy tool that we use. And when I started using them here in this area, nobody had one. And still to this day, I haven't met a lot of people, or many, if any, people that even have a sound table here. Matter of fact, when I started using them, people would look at me like they didn't have any idea what it was. And I had to educate people in some sense.
Yeah. Yeah. At the Karma Fest this year, at your lecture, I heard you were doing the didgeridoo.
Yeah.
I love that because I wasn't far from where the lectures were. You know, we're always in that nice little carriage house when we set up there. We're starting to get our own little family going in that building
Yeah. Yeah.
every year. But I love that. How did you even begin to pick that up?
That's, there's always a story with me. There's always a story. I started out doing this sound therapy stuff. I know a woman in Newtown, Pennsylvania, named Honey. She owns a store called Solutions, Solutions for Daily Living. And I had two friends that were going to do this Sunday tune-up, it was called. And I was a beginner. And they said, we'll have everybody, each one of us, the three of us, take one Sunday a month, and we'll do a class. And I said, all right, well, okay. I guess I'm going to start out this way. This is where I'm going to go. And the owner there, I knew the owner, so she was giving us a chance to do these classes. And I started out doing a class there. And it was a basic class where I would teach some things about sound, teach some things about tuning forks, and then we would do a meditation at the end. And I did it for a number of years there. And before that, the reason I'm telling you about this store, somebody owned it before her, years before that, before I even got into sound therapy. And this woman played the didgeridoo. And she now lives in Colorado because she sold a store to Honey. But she said to me one day, I want to give you something. And she said, I'm going to give you this beginner didgeridoo, this practice beginner didgeridoo. I said, I don't know how to play it. She said, that's no problem. I'll teach you. If you teach me how to play guitar, I'll teach you how to play the didgeridoo. And I said, okay, okay. I didn't have any idea how to play the didgeridoo. And so I learned pretty quickly. And it's interesting because you asked me about instruments and playing a number of instruments, but it seems like when people have, I don't want to say excessive talent, but they're born with the talent for being musicians. It's not very hard for them to pick up different things and start playing. That was my experience for myself.
Right.
I started playing the piano, and I teach lessons today. I do teach music lessons. Wow. I played guitar. I played bass guitar when I was a professional musician, and I played the didge. So, there was no mistakes in me taking it all to sound therapy when I start doing it.
Yeah, yeah, and it's amazing to me. To be able to go from like string instruments to percussions and to be able to do that, and you do that.
Yeah.
And then produce and all that other stuff.
Yeah, it's true. My friends, I have a couple of friends that are like that too. I have my business partner, Mark. He's a very good musician. He's a guitar player. He doesn't think he's a good keyboard player, but he's a very good keyboard player, I think. And he plays a number of different instruments. And I have a couple other people that are like that also. And I'm putting together a number of my goal and dream now to take this even further is to bring in musicians in my classes, professional musicians that can play, and we're going to have live music in the classes. So That's my dream out for the future.
Nice, nice. Yeah, music is healing, over the years for myself, even, how songs can just take you back with memory or how they can lift you up. It's it sometimes I think some people underappreciate, but there's things out there that because of the frequency of them, I get irritated by. So
Yeah.
the sound healing and how the knowledge has come out about the vibrational frequencies and how things are adjusted makes sense to me, because I know how, like, certain music, I feel myself get irritated, and now I know why. I have a question. I know that I think it was back in the 50s, they changed the frequency of music. Is this correct? There's something that they did to music with even the instruments that are played. Do you know
Yeah,
about that?
yeah, they did. And there was always there was when I was at the school, there was always this talk about 432 hertz and 440 hertz. And what happened was many years ago, I don't know how long ago it was in date wise, but it was a long time ago during classical music. They changed it. They changed it to 440. Now, what that means is that some people who are not musicians may not understand, but it's an easy explanation. When you go to a concert for an orchestra, many times you will be sitting there before they start, and the oboe player plays a note, and that oboe player plays that A note, and that A note is 440 hertz. That is the frequency of that note that he or she is playing.
Hmm.
And you notice that all the string players, all the violinists, the cellos, they're all playing their violins to tune up to that note. Well, that is an A. That is an A note, and that is 440. Now, what they did many years ago is that they changed to the scale of 440, and that's what they use for music today. Now,
Okay.
I'd like to say this, and there is a great controversy going on, and I agree with it also. A lot of the big people in sound therapy say that it's a little harsh. And if you listen to 432, and you will hear this, what you hear when you hear 432, people are, well, what does that really mean? Well, what that means is that they're changing the A on the musical scale to 432. They're dropping it down from 440, and they're changing that A. Now, when you change the A, you change all the rest of the notes, because all the rest of the notes have to change on the musical scale in relation to that A note. Does that make sense?
Yes, and the reason why I asked, because I heard that they did that for a negative effect on people,
Well,
so to speak. And you just used the word, it's irritating or harsh. Harsh is what you said, and that kind of went along with what I heard about it, because we're all talking about the great plan and how they're programming and how they're doing all this stuff on to the society on a whole. Well, I'm curious if that was part of the thing with the music shift of the frequency.
if you listen to one of my CDs is in 432. Most of the music on the CD is in 432. All those songs are changed to 432. If you listen to it, a lot of people will say it sounds gentler, it sounds softer. It's a closer resonance to nature, if that makes sense. It's a closer
Hmm.
resonance. The 432 sounds different. Now, I don't have any research that says they did it intentionally, but
Yeah.
I know I know that it sounds much different than 440. Now, I'm not totally against 440, because some of my music is in 440, but I'm going to say to you, I do agree with a lot of the people in the field of sound therapy that say they prefer 432.
And that's what it originally was.
Hmm. It was originally something different. It was something different than 440. I'm not going to say it was exactly 432,
Okay.
but it was different.
So all of the sound healing, Now you're going to get into different frequencies than 440 or 432. And this is where you find the healing properties of the frequencies. So share a little bit about, how did they even come to the knowledge of this? Like, how did it all begin?
It's quite interesting. It's quite interesting because many people have probably heard about many different tools in sound therapy. They've heard about crystal bowls, the singing crystal bowls that you play, and the Tibetan bowls that are the metal bowls.
Yes, that's what I heard.
And about the tuning forks that they use. And I have met a lot of people when I go to the shows, especially, they see the tuning forks on the table, and they say, some of these I've seen, but some of these other ones with these things on the ends, I don't know what, I never saw anything like that. And what I say to them, yeah, they weren't around a long time ago. And somebody came up with the idea to use these things, tuning forks that have weights on them. They're called weights. Now, I really would like to talk a little bit about tuning forks, just to focus in a little on a specific area and frequencies of sound therapy, because it'll make it a little more clear. There, like I said, there is many tools I can use on the body. There's many tools I can use for around the body. You'll probably heard of a lot of people using crystal bowls, and that's a whole nother thing. We can use for different chakras. The crystal bowls are usually for different chakras, and I use them in my class. I have about 12 different bowls that I use in my class. Tibetan bowls are very good for on the body. You can place them on the body and play them, because they have this effect on penetration. Is great with crystal bowls.
Right.
I'm sorry, not crystal bowls, with Tibetan bowls, the metal ones. Their penetration on Tibetan bowls is very good in that they can be placed on the body. They come from, the sizes are very tiny to very, very big. I've seen ones you can literally even stand in.
Yeah, I've stood in one. Yeah. So Tiffany put up a little bit of post here. She said the recent rediscoveries of the vibratory nature of the universe indicates that this contemporary international concert pitch standard may generate unhealthy irritant effect or antisocial behavior in the consciousness of human beings. So I that's what I think I heard about when they changed things. She goes on with some more stuff there, but so the Tibetan healing bowls, the singing bowls, I actually gave mine 5. He got a tongue drum from me, so I'm training them early. I'm getting them into things so they can understand. So I wanted you to get into the tuning forks, but I do have a commercial break, and we're almost to the half point. So if we just do that commercial break, and then when we come back, we can get into, you can show us the tuning forks and all that. How's that sound?
Sure, that sounds great.
Okay, so Tiffany, we're ready for our commercial break. Okay, good. Tiffany? Tiffany?
Yes.
Hello.
Hello,
I don't
Mary.
know. Did we lose Tiffany? I got knocked off. Did you get knocked off?
No.
Hi. Hi, Angelo.
Hello
Can you hear
there.
me?
Yes. Yes. Mm-hmm. I can hear you.
Hi. You can hear? Okay. I don't know what happened. All right, let's go back. We lost Mary. Oh, I love tuning forks. Angelo, go ahead and talk about the tuning forks. Hi, Robert. Thank you for your super sticker. We love it. I thought we lost you too. All right, so I don't know if we did the commercial break or not, but let's go ahead,
We did. We
Angelo,
did.
and let's start the tuning forks.
Okay. So some people, I'm going to go and explain some things about tuning forks, show you a little bit about the frequencies, how we can use them. And I do this all the time. I'm teaching a class this Saturday up in Pennsylvania at a show. And I do this all the time to teach these classes on forks. And they're really amazing tools. For some of you who may know or may not know, they come in two different types of forks. You see, I'm going to hold this one up. You see these forks, they look like the ones they used to use to tune pianos. These are the forks they used to tune pianos. And they have no weights on them. They have nothing on the top. There's other forks I'm going to show you in a second, very soon. They're a little different, but these are the unweighted forks, unweighted. Now, they do make a sound. I don't know if you can hear it, but with the mic I have, but they do make a sound, and it's very loud.
Mm-hmm.
We use these forks to do. We use these forks to do clearing. They're really used for clearing energy, clearing negative energy, neutralizing negative energy. So what I'm saying to you is that we can use this if you're working with a client or if you're working with yourself. You can clear your energy by going around the body, around the auric field, and it will clear it and clear your energy. I usually do this with myself every day. Now, some people will burn sage and incense. That's also another way to clear negative energy, but it's nice to have a tuning fork because there's places you can't burn sage. Mm-hmm. I had a lady who came to me one time and said she bought one of my forks, and she said, I asked her, I said, "Can I just ask you why you're buying the fork? I just like to ask people why they want one." And she said, "I use it in my office. I can't burn sage, and my desk. I use it at my desk. I pull it out and I go around my desk, clear the energy of my desk, and then I put it back in my pocket." She said, "There's a lady next to me that's very negative." So that's why she was buying the fork. So she was clearing her energy in her office. So that's another thing you can use the unweighted forks with. Now, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say you can get those with different frequencies.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. So they come with different frequencies. So you can clear your energy, or a client that you're working with. You can also clear your room and your living space. You can go around your home and clear the energy in your home by clearing the energy with the fork. The third thing that you can do with the unweighted forks are you can clear and activate your crystals. Now, to do that, what you really need to do is have something above 1,000 hertz. You need something above 1,000. And when we're talking about sound, we're talking about hertz. We're talking about everything is in hertz. So there are many forks that you can use. And I have people ask me, well, okay, if I can do any or all of those things with the unweighted fork, which one should I get? And I say to them, it's all up to you and what you resonate with. Now, the fork I'm holding is 1111, and it's not 11 hertz. It's 1,111. If you can hear it. And it is a very interesting number, and it's called a sonic sage. Sonic sage. Mm-hmm. Now, this is above 1,000 hertz, so you can clear and activate your crystals. You can clear your energy around your auric field, and you can clear a room or a living space with this fork. So there are the three things you can do with the unweighted forks. I'm going to show you some
I
other
like the
forks.
1111 number.
A lot of people like that number, and they like that sound, that frequency of that fork. It's a very popular, a very popular fork. They go much higher. So let me show you something else. You see how small that fork is? As the number gets bigger, as the number gets bigger, the fork gets smaller. That's the way the forks go with the unweighted forks. Now, what happens is that this is 3072. This is a very high fork. It is a G note, G. I like it because I do this thing called voice analysis, where I look at to see where people need more of the musical notes. What note do you need more of in your physiology? And I need G. I have tested myself with the voice analysis, and it shows that I need more G. So I use, it's a very high frequency.
Yeah.
Very high.
Very high.
But they do go high, and they do go lower, the frequencies for the unweighted forks. I'll show you another one. 801. 801 is called the alpha and the omega. What it means is the beginning and the end. This is a very nice fork if you are a practitioner or if you're not a practitioner, but I use it on the beginning of sessions with people, and I use it at the end of sessions with people. So it works very nicely when you're working with clients or when you're working with yourself. You can also use it to clear your energy or clear a room, because it will work very well with both of those things. But it's called the alpha and the omega. 801. 801. Okay? There are many, many, many forks. And I have people even asking me, can I have a favorite number? I have a favorite number of, say, they could mention a number of numbers, but say 762. I'd like an unweighted fork, 762, and you can have that made. We can have forks made specifically for numbers that you would want. The only thing I'm going to say is that there's a range of unweighted. There's a range of where the unweighted forks come in. There's a range, because what happens is that I'm going to explain this in 1 second.
Okay.
Because I'm going to go on to the weighted forks. There is a range where you can get unweighted forks because they get too big or too small depending on the number. And I'll go on to explain what I'm saying in a second. Now, let's go on to say, there's another type of fork called a weighted fork. You see they have weights on them? They're little
before you
round
go
things
on
at the
to the
top.
weighted fork.
Yep.
Angela, before you go on
Go ahead.
to the weighted, all right.
Can you hear me? Can you say that
Robert asked, how about
Okay.
888 hertz?
Thank you, Robert.
Now.
Yeah, thank you, Robert. I was going to go back to that for you, but here
Robert has a question. He wants to know. I can't hear you.
I'm here.
I can't hear you, Angelo. You froze.
I'm here. I'm here. I think I just lost you. Robert, if you're there, I can tell you that there is a fork 888. It's called the Jesus fork, and it comes unweighted. It comes unweighted. It's called the Jesus 888. Now I can explain to you how they got that number and why it's called that. Are you back with us, Mary? Are you back with us, Mary? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm thinking I might switch to my phone because I'm on the road and I'm in a hotel room and I guess the internet isn't here. So I think I'm
Okay.
gonna
All right.
switch. Okay, keep going. I'm listening.
Okay. I was just talking to Robert. Robert, this is the fork 888. The way they got the number for this fork is they took the name, and numerically they took each letter of the name, and they took the number of each letter and they added it all up, and they got 888. That's where they got the number numerically. It's an interesting number because eight is for infinity, and that's just, I just find that interesting that it is that name and that number. It's 888. It's a very interesting number. And I just, if you can hear that.
Nice.
And it's a very nice fork, very nice fork. And let me say this. I have a lot of people asking me about tinnitus. How can you reduce tinnitus? A lot of people out there. The frequency for tinnitus is 880 hertz, 880 hertz. Now, I'm not just saying this because I know it out of a book. I've actually used it, and I've had other people use it. I had another sound therapist contact me one day and say, I have tinnitus. I'm not sure what the frequency is. Can you help me with this? And so I did some research with my business partner. He said to me, it's 880 hertz. She tried it out, and in one day, her tinnitus disappeared. It was gone. So I have recommended people using this 888 for their tinnitus. It's still, that 8 hertz is not going to make a big difference. You can use 888 for tinnitus. It will help reduce and eliminate your tinnitus, 888 hertz. I hope that answers your question, Robert, about the 888 fork.
Interesting about the tinnitus.
Yep.
Very interesting.
Yes.
I wouldn't even think that you would use something like that to get rid of something that is buzzing.
Well, it's interesting in that we use it actually to hearing. We don't put it on your ear. We don't place the fork on your body. Mm-hmm. We let you literally hear it, and it resonates almost to the frequency of the tinnitus that you're hearing, and it has an effect on eliminating it. And I've used it, and as I said before, I've used it, and it works very, very well, very well.
Oh, very interesting. Good to know.
Now, there's other
weighted forks.
Weighted forks. Okay, so you see, I'm looking at my whole stash on my desk here. You see that they have weights on the top of them. They have weights. Somebody came up with this idea. Excuse me. It's around 60s or 70s, I believe that's what the date was. To put weights on tuning forks, and they did this for a reason. Somebody got the idea to do this, and what happened was, it doesn't sound like the fork is making a sound. If you put it close to your ear, you can hear them, but they don't sound as loud as the unweighted forks. They don't have the volume in audibly that the unweighted forks have. And the reason that is that I'm going to show you the fork, and I'm going to show you the parts of the fork. The tines are here, the tines of the fork, the neck of the fork. Here's the stem, and here's the bottom of the stem. You see where my finger is pointing? The bottom of the stem. Mm-hmm. You see how I hold the fork by the stem. That's how I hold it. For just like the unweighted forks, I hold them by the stem, or you can hold them by here, the bottom of the neck here. And you notice what happens is when I activate the fork, what is going on and what the weights are doing is causing the vibration to go down the tines, down the neck, down the stem to the bottom of the stem. That means, I have people ask me this all the time too. Can you feel it on your hand? Yes, I can. Yeah. Are you getting the frequency also as you're holding it? Yes, I am. Is it having a great effect on you as it is the person you're giving the frequency to? In a way it is, yes. I've worked with forks for a very long time, but yes, it is. So what is happening is that the way I differentiate tuning forks is that unweighted fork, unweighted, around the body, unweighted, around the body, around the body. What I'm saying is that clearing. Weighted forks, on the body. If you watch me, I'm putting it on my body. I'm placing the bottom of the stem on my body. What that's doing is that it's giving the vibration to me. It's literally transferring the vibration from the tuning fork to me. It's a great advantage in that I can now give you a vibration to that area that you need it. And it also looks like the fork is sticking out from you.
And I've seen you do that.
No matter where you're putting it. It looks like it's sticking out from you. And so there are many frequencies that we can use on the body now. Whether they're for chakras, whether they're for healing certain maladies. And I'm going to go into a little more about that. This fork I'm holding is called the mid-ohm. Mid-ohm. Like when we ohm with our voice, we do an ohm frequency. And that's all the whole thing about sound therapy, about toning, when we use our voice. When this is this is called a mid-ohm, and what it's used for is the heart chakra. If you bought a whole set of chakra forks, you would get this fork 136 hertz, 136 as the heart chakra. Now, I'm going to explain this in simple terms, in that the ohm, there's a whole ohm system that Marjorie DeMonk came up with, where you can use ohm forks anywhere on the body. Now, there are a number of ohms that are available. This is one of them. 136 is a mid-ohm. What I'm saying to you is that these ohms are a really good general fork, and they can be used anywhere on the body. Now, they're for centering, grounding, giving you energy, and for circulation. I'll say that again. These ohm forks, this mid-ohm is good for centering, grounding, giving you energy, and for circulation. So if you're having trouble grounding yourself or centering yourself, or you come home and you're feeling very anxious, you can use the fork on your heart and give yourself the vibration. It will bring your vibration down. It will bring your vibration down to a calming,
nice,
centering. Very nice fork. Very nice fork. Nice. I'm going to put this. Let's talk about something a little different. I have people ask me, what should I buy at first? I don't know what I really need. I don't know what I should use. Go ahead. Did you want to ask me a question, Mary?
I was going to ask you that question. Where do you start? I wanted to ask you, like, where do people start?
A good question is, or a good answer to that question is, it depends on what you need at the time, also, and where you think you're going to be going with tuning forks. Do you think you'll maybe have a toolkit where someday you will collect a number of them where you can use them on yourself or for clients or however you're using them? Or do you just want one or two that you might be using on yourself, that you have something that you need to use them for? Say you need something like an ohm, a mid-ohm for grounding and centering. That's something you really need. Maybe that's where you should start off, because it's a nice general fork you can use anywhere on the body. It's a nice general fork. Now, I want to say this. Forks go from very general to very specific. That's how they go. And I showed you a weighted, very general, first fork, very general, a mid-ohm. And the ohm system, as I said, is very good for anywhere on the body. Now, let's go on to something a little different, because people ask me about this a lot. There's a frequency called in a weighted fork that's called 111 hertz. Not 1111, like I said with the unweighted, 111, 111. This is a really powerful fork for cell rejuvenation for tissues, for muscles, tendons, ligaments, and nerves. Now, if you have a shoulder injury that's tissue related, very good to use it on. If you have a back injury that's tissue related, muscles, tendons, ligaments, or nerves, and you know it's that, very good to use it on. When I was first starting, I only had a 111. That's the only fork I had. And I think I had a mid-ohm. I had 2 forks. And I got tendonitis. I was doing painting work with a contractor. This is when I lost my job. I was doing painting work with a contractor because I had to do work to make some money. And I got tendonitis in both elbows, right here.
Yeah.
And I started using the 111 fork on myself.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if this really worked or not. I said, well, they say it works, but I don't know. I'm just starting out on this thing. And so I started, and I started using the 111 on myself for about 12 to 13, 14 minutes for the first day on both each elbow. And after that, I stopped. And people always ask me, how long should I use the forks? How long should I do this? It's part intuition, and it's part how you're feeling. It's part how you're feeling. You use it for a while, and then you stop and you see how you're doing. And I decided to stop for that day. I said, okay, well, tomorrow I'll try this again. The next day, I activated the fork. I put it on myself. Again, 10 minutes, 11 minutes, 12 minutes. Yeah, I kept activating the fork because it dies down. And after about 13 minutes, I took the fork off my elbow. And I went like this. Wow, it's gone. And I couldn't believe it. I was shocked. I'm like, they weren't kidding. This actually works. If for tendonitis, this actually works. So I found out that 111 hertz was actually good for muscles, tendons, ligaments, and nerves. And I started using it on clients. I said, I'm not kidding. Even recently, I've used it on clients, and I have seen people in 4 treatments who have had shoulder pain, back pain, knee pain, especially knee pain. I've used it on a number of people in my practice on knee pain, and a number of treatments, depending on their severity and depending on how long they've had pain, it disappears. Their pain disappears very, very quickly, if not in a short period of time. So what I want to say to you is that it's a very popular fork, very, very, very popular fork. People use it on a lot of different things that are tissue related. Make sure you remember that, tissue related. Tissue related. Because there are other forks that are good for bone regeneration. And I'm going to say this, 50 hertz. 50 hertz is very good for bone. But let me go further. 45 hertz is the actual frequency for bone. 45 hertz is the actual frequency for bone regeneration. How did they find that out? Well, here's the story. They did some research. Horses were breaking their legs, and they weren't able to do anything with them. So they said, well, let's try to use 45 hertz. Let's see how that works. And they started giving them the 45 hertz frequency. After a while, they were seeing that the bones were regenerating with 45 hertz. So they found out that frequency is very good for bone regeneration. Now, I mentioned 50 hertz. 50 hertz is very close. You can still use it for bone. It's not the preferred frequency. You can still use it. It's still okay. Mm-hmm. But it's really good for nerves, because nerves regenerate at 50 hertz. 50 hertz. I've used this for people with nerve pain down their leg, and it works beautifully. 50 hertz works beautifully for that.
So I was going to say, is there other uses? So if somebody had nerve pain and they got the 50 hertz, what other uses could they have with that? Or is it strictly just for the nerve pain?
Like I said, as we go further with forks, as we go from one end to another, it's very general to very specific.
Okay.
They're very specific, because now we're working, because these weighted forks are very specific to the frequency that we're working with the malady.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them are very specific to the frequency what we're working with as far as the malady is. So I'm going to say to you, 50 hertz is good for nerves, but it's not, you don't really want to go any further or any other place with it, because we know that's what it really was used for. As you see, the forks get bigger as the number gets smaller with the unweighted forks. The fork gets bigger as the number gets smaller. You notice that the 111 is much smaller than it is smaller.
Mm-hmm.
And they get
So
even
it's
bigger.
opposite with the weighted and unweighted.
It's opposite. Yes. Yeah. Yes. So there are many frequencies. What about chakras? People ask me about chakras. I work with people with chakras. Can I use something?
Mm-hmm.
And when I do the classes, especially at the shows, and sometimes even in the class I do in New Jersey, I use chakra forks with people, and there is one, and I see a lot of people with throat chakra blockages. They have trouble speaking their truth. They have trouble saying what they need.
Right.
And so there is a fork that is very good. And I've done this demonstration where I check the chakras with people, and there's a way to do that. If you've ever seen a bar chime looks like a piece of metal on a block of wood. And I use the bar chime to check people's chakras. There's a way to do that. And I will say this, I don't have one sitting in front of me, a bar chime, but I'll explain it to you. You activate the chime, it makes a sound, and you start at the head, and you come down through the chakra system, and you see where the sound starts to waver. It starts to get dissonant. Wherever the waverness is, and you have to listen very closely, you go slow, and that's where the blockage is. And I always do this at a class because people love to see this. Intuitively, I can tell where there's a blockage with somebody, but I like to show people actually what the sound can do, and you can actually do it to see what's going on with people. Now, a lot of times I'll see that there's a blockage going on here with people. And I always say to them, when you have a blockage here in this chakra, you also most likely, if not definitely, have a blockage in your solar plexus, because these two chakras are connected. And a lot of times I will ask them, do you have any digestive problems along with your blockage here? And they go, yeah, I do. I have problems sometimes. So it's very common to see that. Now, I'll go on and say there's a fork. Here it is, 153 hertz. It's a fork for the throat chakra and the third eye. And I know it seems a little weird to put a fork on the third eye, but we do. Some people like it, some people don't, and we do it. Now, I'm going to say this. Robert asked me about the Jesus fork. This is called the Mary Magdalene. Now, the reason this is called the Mary Magdalene is because they took her name, and again, they looked at her name with each letter, and they numerically added up each number for each letter, and it comes out to 153 hertz.
Interesting.
It's very interesting. Now, I've used this on people like very quickly in a demonstration at a show, and I will use it on their throat chakra. I will give them some vibration to that area, and then I will check with the bar chime to see if the blockage is still there. And I have to tell you, it disappears.
So I have a question, because you said about the throat and the solar plexus.
Yes.
The connection. So yet the fork you use on the throat and the third eye. Why wouldn't you use it on the throat and the solar plexus?
You can.
Oh, you can.
You can. But what'll also happen is that when you start opening up that blockage, what'll happen is that they will see results. They will see results in the solar plexus also. The reason being, here's my definition of that. If you have a problem in your throat chakra and you can't ask for what you need, you're having trouble speaking your truth, please don't tell me that your self-esteem is wonderful, because I've never met anyone ever that have a wonderful self-esteem and they can't speak their truth. It's just not true. Right. So it tells me there's something going on between these two chakras. Like I say to people, if we use a crystal bowl on your solar plexus and we start opening that chakra up, there's a good chance that you're going to start speaking your truth. And we also use, for the throat chakra, we also use toning. It's called toning. I want to say we don't do singing in sound therapy. We do singing, but the preference for sound therapy is to have people tone, to have people make vowel sounds, and each chakra has its own vowel sound.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have people also. I'll play a crystal bowl and I'll start making the vowel sound for the throat chakra or the heart, which is ah. The ah sound is for the heart chakra.
Mm-hmm.
And I have them start making a sound. And one lady said to me, what is that going to do for me? I'm not going to ask for what I need by making a sound. And
Right.
I said, if you can't make a sound with me, you will never ask for what you need. You won't, because I'm trying to take you one step. I'm trying to take you one step ahead. So you will open your throat chakra by starting to do that.
Angelo, you have so much information, and I think we could have another second show.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been fabulous, and I hope you will come back and we can go in a little bit deeper and a little bit further. I really enjoyed it. I'm sure everyone else did. There was some really positive comments, which I can't see now because I'm on my phone. And I apologize for getting knocked off and disrupted throughout the show. Not my fault. But thank you so much, and I look forward to having you again. And thank you, everyone, for listening, and hope to see you next week.
Take care.
Yep, you too. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed the show.